Talks. All right. This is our alcohol and addiction recovery meeting. And, I really wanted to do this live. And if I can't get this sound squared away, then I'm just going to go ahead and record the video and put it up like my normal YouTube videos. So, if someone comes on, let me know how the sound is. All right. I've put the microphone in a box with the camera on top of the box, and I'm right here. So hopefully you can hear me. Anybody? Bueller? Bueller? Let me know how the sound is. All right. So this is our alcohol and addiction recovery meeting. And again, I want to start off with the caveat that when you hear me say the word God, don't get freaked out. All right. That's God as you understand it, him, her, however you like. All right. This is integral to our recovery. All right. We have to have a power greater than ourselves on which we can stack the weight of all these things we can't change. Can y'all hear me? Anyone? Hold on a sec. All right, I think that maybe y'all weren't able to respond. I'm not sure. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and start off. All right, and I really like to start with the Serenity Prayer because it's a roadmap to serenity and very helpful. Okay, and again, I'm not a religious person, so when I say the word God, I'm thinking my own concept of this entity. So let's have a moment of silence. And during this moment of silence, I would like you to think about at least one positive thing about yourself, okay? And that's something I want you to focus on. So, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Big deal, right? Because, if we've got 16 problems that we're facing, but 15 of them are outside of our control, weather, other people's actions, but we need to push those off a board and give that off to someone else, something else, dump them into the black hole, be done with them, all right, and work on the things that we can. So, the way that for now, until people start to respond and everything, the way that I've decided to choose the topic is with the daily reflections. All right. And so today is the 8th. And so we are going to, look at that. Yeah, it's the 8th. Um, what we have here is talking about making a list. Okay. So this is from the 12 steps and 12 traditions. Made a list of all persons we had harmed. All right. So, and here's what the person who contributed this to the book had to say. When I approached the 8th step, I wondered how I could list all the things that I have done to other people since there were so many people and some of them weren't alive anymore. Some of the hurts I inflicted weren't bad, but they really bothered me. The main thing to see in this step was to become willing to do whatever I had to do to make those amends to the best of my ability at that particular time. Where there is a will, there's a way. So if I want to feel better, I need to unload the guilt feelings I have. A peaceful mind has no room for feelings of guilt. With the help of my higher power, if I am honest with myself, I can cleanse my mind of these feelings. And that is really what forgiveness is all about, okay? It's not about the other person, it's about us unburdening the weight of that guilt because the weight of secrets and the weight of guilt can tear us apart. All right. Um, the man. Okay. Our secrets own us. Okay. We don't keep them; they keep us. And that's not to say that you need to spout your innermost secrets off to just anyone, but they have to be released. All right. And I remember an old superstition or something. I misremember where it came from. I want to say India, but I'm not sure. where if a person was having trouble with a secret, where it was weighing heavy, then they would go down to the riverbank, dig a small hole, and whisper the secret into that hole, and then fill it with dirt. And now that's been released. Because bearing secrets and guilt, those things are poison inside of us, and they tend to fester. And it can make it very difficult to keep from that first drink or that first drug or from eating food, anything to make us feel better, okay? Anywhere but here. Any anywhere but here, anyone but me. You know, that feeling where you have to escape, where you have to alter the our state of mind. So those secrets are what we're talking about here. This is part of it, okay? This needing to make amends, okay? This made a list of all persons we had harmed. It's important that we unbury those, okay? And it's important for us. It's not about the other people. And now, as far as amends, I would like to mention that, and this isn't doesn't seem to be approached or the subject broached as often as it should be. Don't be so swift to try to go and right a wrong physically with a person if it's something that's old or something they didn't know about. It's important to think these things through because sometimes an attempt to make amends can cause more harm than good. And I'm saying this from personal experience, okay? It's important to remember also that we are part of the others when it says, as long as to do so would not harm them or others. If it could bring harm to us, then it's important to find another way to make amends, okay? And sometimes that can be done by uh, going out and doing service work, all right? And if you really need specificity, then do service work that is similar to the harm that was caused. Um, yeah, see, and the person talks about being bothered by those hurts. And that's really what it's about because those can get us drunk, get us high, get us eating again, get us gambling again, get us impulsively buying or having sex with strange, whatever our addiction is, those secrets, that weight, that poison is keeping us right at the edge of that initial satiation of the compulsion to, drink, drug, whatever. It's really important not to bear the weight of guilt, not to bear the weight of secrets, to get that out. And that's why a sponsor is supposed to be very useful. It's someone that you can trust. And if you would prefer to be even more anonymous, because again, now we're asking another person to hold on to our secrets, right? A person who knows us, who goes to meetings with us, or lives near us. You can always go to a Catholic church where they take confession and you can spill it there, and then you've got true anonymity. Um, but you've released the burden, you've given it up. Uh, I remember, and this has been settled by a lot of people in the meetings, the 12 step meetings, AA in particular. We're only as sick as our deepest secrets. And I don't know if that's true, but I do know that it's a factor. All right. Myself, I am swift to anger if I'm holding on to a guilty feeling or a resentment like that. Forgiveness really is about the forgiver, not the forgivee. All right. It's about getting rid of that so that we can move forward and begin to do more good in the world than harm. And you know, this is all my own personal opinion, experience, and etc. Hey, if someone's on here, can you tell me if you can hear me okay? Just anything. If you can type in something on the chat just to let me know. Darn. All right. Well, I'm going to continue forward as if you can hear me. If you can hear me, please, again, type something up. We're talking about bearing the weight of guilt and making amends and how that has to do with us, not the other person. Um, We have to have a defense against the first drink, the first drug, the first bite of food. We have to have a defense, okay? And part of that is getting rid of the things that lower our defenses. Guilt is a huge one, all right? Carrying around a burden of guilt or resentment is one of the quickest ways to give in to that addiction, okay? So we have to let go of this stuff. And a physical act of making amends is an excellent way to purge our system of those things. So that's really all I've got on this particular topic. Um, is there anything that the one person watching would like me to talk about, or you have a question that you'd like to ask? Anything? Um, well, then maybe I'll talk about just some other things. Things that I've faced personally. In particular, um, addiction in combination with mental illness. This is Hey EJ, can you hear me? Can you hear me okay? It's good to see you too, EJ. Let me know if you can hear me. Anyway, addiction and mental illness. And this doesn't have to be a severe mental illness, because if you look at statistics, and statistics are statistics because they're true, all right? And I'm not talking about doctored statistics or anything, but we have people with mental illnesses, any mental illness, have a higher instance of addiction. And thank you, EJ. I appreciate you, man. Thank you. There's higher instances of addiction and alcoholism with mental illness, and that's because there's an extra weight borne when you have any kind of mental illness. The world is a stranger place than it already is, a more frightening place than it already is, and these are things that can lead to addiction. And generally, addiction goes hand in hand with some kind of abuse earlier on in life, but not always. Again, because there's genetic factors at play. You know, so you will hear people say that to take psychotropic drugs or anything that helps with a mental illness, you will hear people say that that's a drug. You're taking a drug and now you can't really be sober. No, that is not true. If there is a treatment that can help with your particular malady, okay, um, depression, bipolar affective disorder, as in my case, schizophrenia, um, post-traumatic stress disorder. There are medications that don't dope you up, that can improve your quality of life, and these are huge, huge things that can help. All right, and I don't want you to feel like you're less than if you have to seek outside help, because if it improves your quality of life, then that's a good thing. Okay, and I really would like to. I want to kind of go back to what we were talking about. Okay, the burden of guilt and shame, or the feeling of the need to make amends, or carrying around resentments. If we carry a resentment about someone else, okay, someone that hurt us or did us wrong like that, if we carry that resentment, it's not doing anything to the person that harmed us, okay? It's just sitting in there and it's eating our lunch. It's taking up space in our mind, and it's putting a weight on our shoulders that does not need to be there. All right? Um, we have to get rid of that, because that is lowering our defenses against our own addiction, okay? Whatever the addiction may be. So it's very, very, very important to figure out a way for ourselves to clear that slate, all right? To get a clean slate within our own, mind and spirit. So again, making amends doesn't have to necessarily be where you go to find the person that either you harmed or they harmed you, and try to say, hey, I did this, 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 and this to you. You didn't know about it, but here it is, and I'd sure like you to forgive me. because oftentimes this can cause more harm than good. All right. So again, finding a way to make amends can sometimes mean doing some kind of service work somewhere else, doing something good for someone else. It's about cleaning the slate in our own mind and our own hearts. All right. All right. So back to dealing with addiction on top of a mental illness. It's very difficult. Okay. In my case, I have trouble sometimes discerning reality from the delusions or hallucinations. And again, it makes the world a very scary place, and it makes me want to escape my mindset. Which is one of the hallmarks of the addict, the alcoholic, is wanting to be anywhere but here. Okay, that getting that bite of food, or that first drink that just releases the dopamine, gets the lizard brain saying, "Hey, things are okay. We're satiating our addiction. We're cool. All is well." But meanwhile, we're creating a wreckage around us. We're making our own lives a worse place to be. And like that, we're losing control. We have to have defense against that first drink. And getting treatment for an existing mental illness or emotional difficulty, there's nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong at all. Okay. Um, Even going to uh, just talk to someone. There are a ton of support groups out there, and sometimes you can score a little one-on-one where you can chat, or even just being around people with the same difficulty can make you feel better, make us feel better. Um, in my case, I try to do service by just doing little things for neighbors, like elderly neighbors and like that, and not even telling them. I'll just like weed whack the front of their place or whatever, try to make it look nicer. You know, that's that's what I'm capable of and what's within grasp. It's here, and it makes me feel a little bit better. And a big thing is to try and figure out how to not do wrong, so we don't have to make amends. And here's another thing. You guys might like this. It's better to give a resentment than to get one. So in that instance, like if you have someone at work who just makes you feel bad, to kind of put you down a little bit. You know how people can be, just little digs and jabs, little nasty stuff. Well, instead of just eating that and letting that build up resentment, sometimes it's better to just say, hey, shut your mouth. And now, hey, maybe you've given a resentment, but you've cleansed your own palate, and you're going to be able to make it through this day now, staying a little bit closer away from that first drink, that first drug, that first bite of food, gambling, whatever. So it's really about having a whole bunch of little tools, because all these little traps that are all around us throughout the day. Hey, good to see you, GA. Um, it's really, really about us. It has to be a selfish program, because if we clean our own yard, if we keep our own headspace clean, then we are creating less wreckage in the world around us. Emotional wreckage. I mean, it is amazing to me, okay, the impact that a single instance, a little word can have. You know, if I'm just like I'm all rowdied up because I've got a resentment from someone at work, or a resentment because a bird pooped on my vehicle, and now I'm grouchy or whatever, and I snap at someone. Well, now I've impacted their life in a negative way, and that's going to cause ripples. Okay, now maybe they're going to snap at someone who's already this close to snapping, who's going to this and this and this. Where if I'm able to keep my own headspace clean, I have now further distanced myself a little bit from that first drink. Okay, that first drug. I've distanced myself a little bit, but if I put on top of that, putting out a good thing into the world, something decent, now those ripples, on the other hand, are good things, okay? And that's something that when it's getting a little bit dark, and then I'm feeling a little bit down, I can think about that I waved to that person, or I said something nice, or held the door, and I saw the look on their face that it pleasantly impacted them. Maybe they smiled. I can think about that. All right. And that's another little piece of armor. It's another little piece of armor to keep us safe. Um, we have to stay safe. All right. And to do so, we have to fight tooth and nail against our addiction, alcoholism, and etc. All right. The easier, softer way is not easy. All right. And I'm not going to tell you that things are going to just get better, but they'll get different. Okay. Every time you have a success, you'll make possible another series of successes. Okay. Um, you're worth it. All right. You're worth it. And I'm just so glad that you're here. Um, you know, and I get like, I forgot to read. I'm going to go ahead and read it now because I really think that it's important. Okay. And this is, hold on. I want chapter 5, how it works. All right. And again, when I say the word God, you're thinking of your own personal uh, concept of such an entity. And this is a creature that is going to take the weight of the things we can't control because those things will bury us. All right. Just concentrating on all these things we can't control, they can bury us and keep us from fixing the things that we can. All right? So, how it works. Rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to this simple program. Usually, men and women who are constitutionally incapable of being honest with themselves. There are such unfortunates. They are not at fault. They seem to have been born that way. They are naturally incapable of grasping and developing a manner of living which demands rigorous honesty. Their chances are less than average. There are those, too, who suffer from grave emotional and mental disorders, but many of them do recover if they have the capacity to be honest. Honesty with ourselves, first and foremost, okay? Our stories disclose in a general way what we used to be like, what happened, and what we're like now. If you've decided you want what we have and are willing to go to any length to get it, then you are ready to take certain steps. As some of these we balked. We thought we could find an easier, softer way, but we could not. With all the earnestness at our command, we beg of you to be fearless and thorough from the very start. Some of us have tried to hold on to our old ideas, and the result was nil until we let go absolutely. And this is true. Holding on to those old ideas, all right? I can have one drink. No. If you are an alcoholic, you can't have one drink. All right? That's a that's a dead road, man. Remember that we deal with alcohol, cunning, baffling, powerful. Input whatever your addiction is right there, okay? Where it says alcohol. Without help, it is too much for us. But there's one who has all power. That one is God. May you find him now. Again, the spiritual aspect of this is important because that's who's going to take the weight of all the things we can't take care of. We can't control. Half measures availed us nothing. We stood at the turning point. We asked his protection and care with complete abandon. Here are the steps we took, which are suggested as a program of recovery. 1. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable, powerless over our addiction, okay? And we will also fool ourselves. That little lizard brain will fool ourselves saying, hey, you're choosing to do this. Well, try to not do it and see what kind of little mental left hand turns that lizard brain will make to bring you back around full circle to where we're going to satiate that addiction, that alcoholism. Okay? It's true. This is just true because I've been through this over and over. All right? Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity, getting rid of all those things that we can't fix, all the BS, all the crap and the lies and the sludge that we've built up in here, okay? Is get rid of it. Give it over. All right? Number 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. And for me, this is about understanding that I do not have control. All right? Not over the world and not over my addiction by myself. I don't. I have zero control. 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Getting rid of those secrets, man, unburying all that stuff and getting rid of the little lies that we've told ourselves that, hey, It wasn't my fault. I was drinking. It's okay that I got in that fight and pounded that man half to death, or yelled at such and such, or did this or did that. Okay? Get rid of all the nonsense and the lies and the darkness and the secrets. Five, admit it to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs, cementing it so we can't change our mind and bury everything again and keep that poison inside of us. Six, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character, getting rid of it, getting rid of all that stuff. Seven, humbly ask Him to remove our shortcomings. Humility, man, it's a difficult one, all right? Arrogance has been inextricably linked with survival for myself, and it may be that way for y'all. So humility has been a very difficult one for me. Number eight, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing, underline that, willing to make amends to them all. Willing to make amends, to make it better, all right? To make it a little better. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go hunt those specific people up. Make it better. Let's make it better for us so we're not burying or bearing that weight, all right? Because that'll keep us down. Nine, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Hey, gang, you and I, we are in the others. We are the others as well. So if this could bring harm to us, no. Find another way to make those amends, all right? Again, service work is a great way to make amends. 10, continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. That's a huge thing, okay? Because it keeps us honest. If you're wrong, admit it. It's just, it's so much better. Trust me. You know, it's just is. It really is. 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. I think that's about listening to our that little Jiminy Cricket in there, okay? Now, I've heard it said that prayer is when we're speaking to God, and meditation is when we're listening, all right? Where we quiet our mind and look for the answer to our question. What should we do at this point? What should we do? All right? Now, 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics, addicts, whatever our particular malady is, and to practice these principles in all of our affairs. All right? Many of us exclaimed, "What in order? I can't go through with it." Do not be discouraged. All right? No one among us has been able to maintain anything like perfect adherence to these principles. We are not saints. The point is that we are willing to grow along spiritual lines. The principles we have set down are guides to progress. We claim spiritual progress rather than spiritual perfection. Our description of the alcoholic, the chapter to the agnostic, and our personal adventures before and after make clear three pertinent ideas. A, that we were alcoholic and could not manage our own lives. Remember, insert whatever your addiction is there, where I say alcoholic. B, that probably no human power could have relieved our alcoholism. And C, that God could and would if He were sought. All right? So, seeking God, spiritual power. All right? And again, we have to find a personal concept of this, because if something doesn't make sense or it's going to drive you away, then modify that. All right? Modify that aspect. And that's why they say, as we understood Him. You know, my concept of God is a very personal thing, and bears very little resemblance to the bearded man, raining hell and brimstone down on everybody. Um, I had to have a peaceful God because I am a naturally angry person. So I think that it's very important that we just try and take care of ourselves. All right, because that self care is going to be part of our defense against that first drink, that first drug, whatever it is. Let me see here. Ecuador. All right. That's why I avoid bars and places like that. I just try to be good in public places, maybe help someone out, greeting, waiting. Heck yeah. It's all about It's all about just trying to make a positive difference, because if we're doing that, if we're expending that energy that we would have expended on our addiction, whatever that may have been, if we take that energy and put it into good works, then we're going to be too busy to get up to mischief. We'll be too busy to think about that first drink. We'll be too busy to get down, you know? And remember, the darkness will come. And that's why it's important to have that spiritual aspect in place, because we need to be able to push back that darkness and shed it over, put it into the higher power, that spiritual being, that cosmic black hole that's going to swallow up all the things over which we have no control. It's incredibly important, all right? And I've been on a half an hour, gang. Um, y'all have any questions? Anything that you might like me to try and cover? If you have any questions about alcohol addiction, I can only speak from my own experience, strength, and hope, and have an associate's degree in behavioral health sciences, and put that together with my own experience as an alcoholic and an addict, among other things. Then if any of you have an issue, even if it doesn't relate to recovery, something that I might have been through myself. If you're going through some kind of issue, I'm here to try and help one person. If it even if it's just taking your mind off of your worries just for a moment. Anybody have anything you'd like me to talk about? Anything at all? All right then. Guess we're gonna call it a day, gang. I appreciate you coming and hanging out with me. All right. I want you to remember, just remember to awesome, awesome then. I want y'all to remember that you are worthwhile, that you exist for a reason. Okay, that you have a purpose. You have a purpose here on earth, and I want you to work on finding your purpose and shedding all those secrets, all the poison of guilt and shame and resentment. That's an important step in finding our purpose, okay? And I'd like you to know that you have a purpose, and that I appreciate you, and that I'm glad you are here, okay? And I just dig y'all. Thank you for coming by and hanging out with me, okay? We'll go ahead and just give it up with the Serenity Prayer again, and then we'll skate out of here, all right? So, uh, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And y'all live free, punch hard, and be good to yourselves, because you are worth it, all right? And I dig you. You got a fan, all right? So, I'm out. Thank y'all for coming by, and I'll see you next week. All right? Bye now.